Greetings and salutation, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new series I'm starting called Deck Spotlights with the Shiv. I am the Shiv. Alright, so every week I'm going to go through Hearthstone, take the top deck, and gonna do a breakdown review of it. This week we're going to start with the Crusher Shaman. Crusher Shaman was created by HS Crusher. It's a very unique kind of shaman deck, something we haven't really seen all that much, and I think it's really worthy of being spotlighted. So, without further ado, alright, now this deck has been played by Reels and spotlighted on his stream. It's really, really fun. I had a chance to play this for about 50 matches. Has a very unique learning curve to it, but once you get this deck, it's just so powerful. I'm not even gonna lie. I ran 9 matches in a row unranked with it. I had people adding me just to yell random insults at me. It was quite hilarious. I wasn't a huge fan of the deck initially, but once I got it, yeah, it clicked. Alright, so this deck uses Ancestral Healings to start with. Ancestral Healing kind of seems like an card. We've seen other, like, quote-unquote big-name streamers saying Ancestral Healing was a garbage card. They were right for many reasons, but in this deck, it actually works. And we're going to cover that in a little bit. Alright, so we got Earthshock, the only silence in this. This card is in here for pretty much slight functionality. Edwin Van Cleef, Twilight Drakes, you get the idea. Alright, Lightning Bolt. Early, mid-game removal. Alright, this deck doesn't have many early minions that it can put down to kind of deal with stuff and trade tempo-wise, so you're going to need stuff like Lightning Bolts in your early game to handle things. Alright, Ancestral Spirit. This card is going to be used way, way beyond its curve, and I'm going to explain that combo, but this is a really crucial card to this deck. Alright, Blood Mage Thalnos. This guy is just so pimp in every deck he's in. You get spell damage, and if they kill him, you get a card. Even better. So this guy just is so awesome. I think everybody should at least have this one legendary. Alright, Wild Pyromancer. This guy is kind of utility in certain ways, but he's still really functional in this deck. You're going to have some really fun times with this guy. Alright, the Feral Spirit. This is pretty standard in almost every single Shaman deck we've ever seen. This deck only runs 1, which is kind of unique in its own little way, but it kind of works here as a kind of clutch play in case of emergency, break glass. Alright, Hex. Hard removal. This is really cool. You could also play this after you play a Wild Pyromancer. Great times. Alright, Lightning Storm. Nothing says bye-bye aggro like AoE. This can also be used to ruin Miracle Rogue's day. I'm going to go over that in a little bit. Alright, Injured Blade Master. Now, this guy we've seen used to great success in the Amaz deck. And yeah, it did really good there. But here's where it gets even cooler. Turn 2, I can throw this out with a coin, play Ancestral Healing, and oh, I've got a 4/7 taunt on turn 2. Even druids wish they could do that. Alright, Manatee Totem. This is the deck's single repetitive draw mechanic. Unfortunately, it's not very durable. It's probably going to die the moment you put it out. Anybody who's ever played against Shaman knows, kill the Manatee Totem as quickly as possible. Don't let it persist. Let it persist, you might as well just concede. And that's true. Alright. Unbound Elemental. This deck runs an exorbitant amount of overload. So having something that benefits from that is kind of going to take the sting of the overload away, but not entirely. This guy can really cause a lot of havoc, cause your opponents to play some things that they're going to wish they saved for later, and, well, you could do some other little nifty tricks with it, which I'm going to cover in a little bit here. Alright, Sentient Shield Master. This guy was the bread and butter of the Alpha and CBT and parts of OBT. Nowadays, though, we're seeing him getting replaced with a lot of other cards, but he's still a solid taunt. Alright? And it's good to see him coming back. Use your Drake. This has pretty much been in like every single Shaman deck I have ever seen that was worth a damn. It's a 5-drop, gives spell power, plus draws a card. Shamans love this guy. And it's a 4/4 body. You can't argue that. Okay, Earth Elemental. Here is the rock star of the deck. No pun intended. Okay, maybe a little. Alright, this guy, solid minion. If you play this guy during his mana curve, you're an idiot. I'm going to say this again. Never play this on turn 5. Do not play this on turn 6. Only play it on turn 7 or later, and we'll get to that. Faceless Manipulator. This guy can do some amazing things in this deck. Most decks run this almost as a defensive nature. This one we're going to use also kind of defensive, but not in the way most decks do. Alright, Fire Elemental. Shaman, Fire Elemental. Every single deck. That's all I got to say. The Black Knight. It's kind of weird when you look at all the taunts that are in this to have something that kills taunts. Sure, why not? But, you know, because Tyrion Forge Ring exists, because Ironbark Protector exists, because druids in general exist. That's why you want the Black Knight. Also, when facing up against handlock, that's why you want the Black Knight. Just, he's a solid card, great utility legendary, and he's got a solid body. So you really can't go wrong with the Black Knight. Ragnaros the Fire Lord. Now, there were many options that you could have gone with other than Rag, but in all honesty, in hindsight, looking at everything, this is probably the best choice to fill in that last slot. It's kind of a win condition in its own way, and can really just lead to some great finishes. Okay, now, I've been toting that we'll talk about different combos, this, that, and the other. Okay, let's get to that. Okay, the first one we're going to talk about is the Ancestral Healing and the Injured Blade Master. Druids cry because they wish they could do this. That's all I've got to say on that. It's a great play. We saw it used a lot during the Alpha and CBT days. It fell out of favor for some odd reason, but it's good to see it coming back. Alright, Earthshock. You could use this in conjunction with Wild Pyromancer. It's actually a really great effect. But I can think of something else I'd rather use the Wild Pyromancer with. Okay, Ancestral Spirit. This is part of the key core of this deck. There's only really one card that you're going to want to use this with. And that's going to be the Earth Elemental. And here is why. If you could draw out your opponent's silences with things such as the Injured Blade Master, or with even Manatide Totem can actually do it. I've done it before. Senjins, whatever. You pull out their silences, then your Ancestral Spirits going on your Earth Elementals in your late game are pretty much going to be safe. Now, by doing this, your Earth Elemental, even if they kill it, it's just going to come back. If you put 2 of them on a single Earth Elemental, when it dies, 2 of them will spawn. It's actually a really fun trick. I had somebody concede when they saw that. There's really no other target I can honestly think you'd actively want to put the Ancestral Spirit on that's going to be all that viable. I can see other targets you could put the Ancestral Healing on, such as, you know, Fire Elemental, Faceless, well, no, not Faceless, but Azure Drake. Yeah, sure, maybe. Unbound Elemental makes the most sense in that case, though. But in terms of Ancestral Spirit, you're going to want to hold out for the Fire Elemental and vice versa. You got to get both of them at the same time or it's just not worth it. This is why I say you're only going to want to play this turn 7 or later. Now, if you get to turn 10, right, and you've got an Earth Elemental in your hand, and you got a Faceless Manipulator, go ahead, do it. Play them both. Double up on it. That way at least one's going to persist. Then, if you can get the Ancestral Spirit on your next draw, go ahead and play it. It's just that simple. The never-ending taunt wall. It's brilliant. And eventually you're going to just run your opponent out of steam with this. And then once they're out of steam, you can just simply march across and kick their ass. It's brilliant. Other things you could do. Ancestral Healing plus Ragnaros. This I did in a pinch play, and it was hilarious. I literally watched him wreck every single one of his minions into my Ragnaros. Now that might seem like a bad idea, but he would have won if I didn't. And I ended up coming back and beating him because of it. So, yay, pinch play. Other than that, there is one other combo, and it's used for a very specific reason. We're going to cover that right now. We all know and love Miracle Rogue. So we're going to talk about how to defeat that, and then we're going to go into some other decks. Okay, Miracle Rogue. Everybody loves it, right? All right, so how do you defeat Miracle Rogue? Two ways with this deck. One, knock out its draw engine. Gadget Sand. Kind of hard to do considering it's stealth, right? Wild Pyromancer plus Lightning Storm. This is the only time you're really ever going to want to do a two-card combination because, again, you don't have a really good draw engine, so you got to play smart. This is the only time it's excusable to do this. By doing this, you're effectively either doing 3 or 4 damage. If you have an air totem out, go ahead and do it because that'll guarantee you just knock that thing right off the board. You knock out their Gadget Sand, it's going to be a little difficult for them to draw into their combo. It's not impossible, though. Please keep this in mind. Alright, the other way of dealing with Miracle, taunts. Lots and lots and lots of taunts. Miracle is going to see the Ancestral Healing, Injured Blade Master, and go, oh, hell no. And they're going to flip that back to your deck because you spent 2 cards to do it. Alright, cool. So basically they wasted 1 of your cards. Alright, that's fine. That means that's 1 less they have for your true taunts that you don't want them to get through, i.e. your Earth Elementals. If by turn 9 you could get your Earth Elementals with Ancestral Spirits out and they've already used both their saps, it's game over for the Miracle Rogue. There's not much they can do at that point. Alright, that is how you beat Miracle Rogue. Now, let's get into handlock. This is a deck that we all know and love. We haven't seen much lately, but it still does pop up from time to time. This deck actually smacks the living crap out of it. And the way it does that is it slow plays the hell out of it. It literally lets the handlock draw itself to death. It's just constantly trading tempo-wise with it. They play a giant out, Faceless Manipulator it. Let them sack their giant into your giant in order to deal with it. And if they don't, okay, smack them in the face, play an Ancestral Healing on it. Now they have to. But you're probably not going to want to do that just due to the fact that the more damage you do to them, the quicker they can get more giants out. And that's just really dangerous. But most of the time, when you face this manipulator, say a mountain giant, they're going to waste their mountain giant to deal with the one you just copied. It's a logistical trade that they're always willing to do because they don't want you to Wind Fury it. Though nobody really does that Wind Fury much anymore, it does happen. And that is something handlock players just will not allow. Okay. So, what other decks can you easily knock the crap out of? Let's see. What's the one that everybody seems to play? Oh yeah, Zoo. This deck does really good against aggro for many reasons, mostly the taunt walls. But you gotta survive it. You're gonna have to survive it. And that's the key thing. Surviving against Zoo. You're gonna have to play your Lightning Storms. You're gonna have to play your Feral Spirits in that early game. You're gonna have to Lightning Bolt. You're gonna have to get the Injured Blade Master Ancestral Healing out. You're gonna need a series of the stuff I've just mentioned in order to stave off that early game aggression. Once you've gotten through that and get to your mid game, to where you can actually start playing out Senjins and taunted up, say, Unbound Elementals that are boosted, and then get to the Earth Elemental. Once you get to Earth Elemental, Zoo's got nothing that can handle it. Absolutely nothing, especially if you got an Ancestral Spirit on it. Okay, so they kill 1 copy. Boom, the next one comes up. They've got nothing to it. They're tapping themselves to death. Zoo goes to crap. Other aggro, on the other hand, will probably give you a little bit of problem. Mage definitely will because of Polymorph. Paladin's probably going to give you some problems just because they have so many cheap and easy ways of doing early game burst that they can turn 5 you really effectively. This is why when you see a Argent Squire go down, you're Earthshocking the crap out of it. No, you're not going to let him get a souped up Blood Knight. Alright? Now, one of the other ones I think we have to cover is going to be Control Warrior. Now, Control Warrior is kind of a very difficult deck for a lot of people to deal with because of the way it works. So let's cover this. Hexes, Sylvanas, Cairn, Alexstrasza, things of that nature. That's what you're going to want to use it on. You're always going to want to put your totems out as much as feasibly possible. You're going to want to trade with your minions on the board more than you're going to want to use your spells. Just so you could like save like lightning bolts and stuff like that to kind of burn them down once you've gone through all this stuff. And that's going to be really, really core. Things such as Grommash Hellscream, not really as much of an issue because of the taunt walls of Earth Elementals you're going to throw down. He'll pretty much kill off his Hellscream before anything else. So that's really not going to be the issue. But you're definitely going to have to play it very smartly and kind of slow. There's no fast win on that. This deck is not built for speed. Okay. All right, Ramp Druid. This is probably one of the worst matchups that I had a chance to actually play. And I played both Ramp and Ramp Druid. And they all ended, well, I won 2, lost 2. Let's put it that way. Here's the thing. Ramps were able to draw into combos really nicely. We're able to draw into counters very nicely. If they got the wild growth, your chances of winning drop like 15%. And that's just the sad state of it, okay? If they can outpower you, they're going to outpower you, and you're going to lose. But if they don't get that, then you could easily keep them from gaining a power advantage on you. Even if they get it like later on, by that point, it's already too late. You're going to want to be wary, though. Keeper of the Grove. This thing will wreck face left and right. You're going to want to try to pull it out for other things. Most notably, your Unbound Elementals are great for pulling this out. Your Injured Blade Masters are great for pulling them out. Do not pull the Earth Elemental Ancestral Spirit combos till after those are out. And then all you have to worry about is Big Game Hunter and Black Knight. Which, hey, guess what? Even if you have, even if they play those, the Ancestral Spirit will still kick off. By the way, just a side note, you can go ahead and Black Knight my Earth Elemental with 2 Ancestral Spirits. I love getting 2-for-1 combo like that. Thank you. Alright. Token's kind of annoying because if they can manage with tempo your board, they're going to. And they're going to try to keep your taunts off. They're going to spend a great amount of their time dealing with your taunts. And if you give them the opening, they're going to take it. So you got to be wary of that. And you have no way of healing yourself back up in this deck, so please keep that in mind. Play it a little bit smart. All right. The last and final deck that I had a chance to play through that was actually really, really horrible to play against. I actually went and added this person just so I could play him like 5 more times to see if there was anything I could do against him. And I eventually got a win out of him. But, and that's Freeze Mage. This is a really difficult match. I'm not even going to lie. This was just a nightmare, okay? The only thing you could really do in that case is screw tempo, screw trading, go everything you can to the face. Spells to the face, unless you have to remove a taunt, which doesn't really happen all that often because they're pretty much locking down the board. Everything you can, go to the face. As much as you possibly can. All right? And here is why. If you let them lock down your board, they're just going to spell you down and then finish you off. So you got to put that pressure on them, make them use their spells on your minions. All right? That's the only way you can win that match. And even still, it's going to be a tough road. Very, very tough. But anyway, so that's the deck. That's strategies, mulligans, things of that nature, combinations. This deck is a lot of fun to play. I've put 50 matches in already with it. I ran 9 in a row on ranked with it. I was really happy about that. This is just an all-around really good deck, but it does take some getting used to, all right? Please remember that. Until you are fully comfortable with the deck, you can't say it's good or bad. You really got to get into it, you know, kind of like a pair of shoes. You got to walk in them a little bit till they form to your foot. Hearthstone deck is no different. Anywho. This is TheChiv's saying thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I should have another deck next week. Good night, all.